$1,000 a month. It's a dream that most of us have when we start out on our print-on-demand journey. Can I actually make $1,000 a month in passive income? Now, you may have seen these videos and ads featuring dudes in their 20s living this amazing lifestyle. They're on boats, they're in mansions, they're playing tennis at 10 in the morning. Is any of that true? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can achieve $1,000 per month in a lifestyle. It's not glamorous and it's not easy, but it is possible. Let me show you how. I generally get two types of video requests on this channel, Zen Watercooler. The first type of request is usually covered in an 8 or a 10-minute video, and it answers a how do I do this or how do I do that. So they're technical videos, they're short. Then I get the next type of request. The second type of request is people asking for concept videos, masterclass videos, big, overarching, long videos where I go into serious detail about how they can set their mind to achieving a big result. So that's what this is. This is a long form video, and I make no apologies for it. I know sometimes people go, oh my goodness, the video is so long, but I really wanted to give you guys the respect and the time that you deserve, because this is not easy. This is not just a quick push a button and all of a sudden $1,000 a month starts rolling in. So I'm going to jump into some concepts here, and you may want to bookmark this, come back to it, take some notes, that sort of thing. Okay, so the idea here with money, and just in general, it's funny, I get feedback on this channel a lot, and one of the pieces of feedback is people like hearing me just sort of ramble on about things once in a while, and that's certainly not intuitive to me. My background is a professional trainer, and so I try to make things as short as possible. But I am going to expand on a couple of these ideas that we're going to cover here just in the first couple minutes. There's ways you can make money, and typically, the first way is with your skills or your knowledge. So if you imagine, for example, a general laborer, they would typically earn a low salary because it doesn't really require any specialized skill, versus a brain surgeon who went to school for 8 or 10 years. The skills and the knowledge is commensurate with the amount of money that they're making. So the more skills and knowledge you can achieve in your life, generally speaking, the more money you can make. So keep that in mind as we move through the different passive income streams. The second way you can make money is with money. So if you have money but no skills, you can make money. If you have skills and no money, you can make money. You need one of the two at least to start, okay? So an example of using money to make money would be if you have, let's say you inherited money from your grandpa, well, you could invest in stocks. You could purchase a home. You could rent out a property. You could buy a business. You could purchase an education. And what I mean by that is you would go to university and pay tuition, or you'd go to a college and achieve a trade, that sort of thing. So money will also help you make money. The third piece is that you would achieve some sort of income producing asset. So I've just got a picture of a house there, but it could be anything. It could be a stock portfolio. It could be some sort of money generating machine like a house, an Airbnb, a vacation property, a room in a house, that sort of thing. So big picture, if you want to make money in your life, if you're sitting at home going, man, pandemic's got me down, one of these three avenues, if you have 1 or 2 or 3 of these avenues, you can make money. Now, I'm going to talk about passive income versus just regular income. They're not the exact same thing. In this video, we're going to be talking mostly about income producing assets. So yes, there's skills and knowledge, and yes, there's money. But in this video, I'm really going to focus on the passive income side, and I'll be mentioning the other two a little bit. But the idea with passive income is you're not actively working to achieve the result. It's working all the time in the background 24/7. So I'll go through a little bit more on what the difference is between regular income and passive income. So why would you want to even care about passive income? You might be sitting there going, well, I've already got a university degree, or I've already got a trade. I can just go ahead and work. Not a problem. The idea with passive income is that it's like you've created a little machine in the backyard that's just cranking out money all the time. And yes, you got to do a whole lot of work on the front end, but once you get it up and running, you just need to kind of maintain it. So it's like a high performance vehicle. So the first thing that I've got here is the word evergreen. And what I would encourage you to do is to think of passive income in terms of planting a tree. So the idea is you plant your tree and then you watch it grow over the years. So just as a quick example, I've written a book, I've written about 10 books, and one of the books that I've written still pays me royalties today, even though I wrote it in the year 2002. So 20 years later, I'm still getting royalties from a book that I cranked out 20 years ago. And I was like, wow, I just never in my mind thought I would be getting royalties 20 years later on something I planted in the ground, an evergreen I planted 20 years ago. So that's the power of passive income. Now, look, I'm not living on a yacht off the royalties, all right, but I'm certainly getting money every month, and it's pretty cool, even if it's $10, $15, $100, whatever the number is. It's still pretty cool to get that money because I'm done. I planted the tree 20 years ago, but it's still giving me fruit 20 years later. The second piece of passive income that I really like, the second concept, is that it's scalable. The idea is that you can grow this larger. So just close your eyes for a moment and imagine a farm, okay? What are the limitations on the farm? Well, it's usually the size of the farm. So if I own a really small farm, maybe it's 1 acre, and you own a really large farm, 10,000 acres, you're going to be able to produce more carrots than me, because your farm is 10,000 times larger than mine. So now imagine in the digital age, you can produce passive income producing assets, and there's really no limit because it's all sitting up in the cloud, it's sitting on the internet, it's sitting online. And so you can scale these passive income designs really large, and you can continue to grow them over time. They just continue to get larger and larger and larger. The third thing I really like about passive income is that it works for you 24/7, and I also put 365 in there. It works all the time. So imagine if you built a machine that just made money and you just put it in your backyard and it just sat there. Well, there is a machine. It's the internet. The internet is always on. It's always available. Half the world has access to the internet, and that number will continue to grow over time. So use the machine that's sitting not only in your backyard, but in everybody's backyard. Okay, so let's take a look now at some passive income ideas. And I think it's important to sort of just turn off the critical part of your brain as I go through 10 ideas. And yes, not all of them are going to apply to you. Totally get it. But if you just sort of imagine like you're cleaning your palette mentally, we can go through these ideas and you can just start to see a pattern that these are businesses that will run independent of a human being once you get them up and running. So let's take a look at 10 passive income ideas. If you've never heard of print on demand before, or if you've stumbled into this video, then welcome, welcome, welcome. The idea with print on demand is that you're uploading a design and then it sits on a whole bunch of different products. So here's an example. If you're just looking for, to get your feet wet in the print on demand world, there's lots of different sites you can use. One of the most popular is called Redbubble. There's really no barrier to entry. You just need to have 2 fingers and be able to type your name. And so you just sign up for Redbubble, and then you can upload designs onto many different products. So Redbubble is definitely worth checking out. That one's just redbubble.com. There's also TeePublic. And TeePublic, the idea here is it's actually owned by Redbubble. And the idea here is that it's almost the exact same, but the products are slightly different. So there's some different stuff that you can use here. You can check out teepublic.com. That's another one that is pretty popular as well. Just a quick word of warning, if you go onto Redbubble or TeePublic, they are pretty popular sites, but you're also going to see a lot of trademark infringed designs. Especially if you're new, this is like the equivalent of like the drug dealer standing on the corner going, hey, it's easy money, don't do it. Do not upload trademarked designs. Your account will get eventually banned. You'll do all this work. I've got videos about that on my channel as well. Just avoid trademarked stuff. You want to upload original art that you're comfortable, selling in a genre that, in theory, people want to purchase in. So I've got lots of videos about that. Another one that's really popular is Amazon. So there's a actually a service called Merch by Amazon. You can Google Merch by Amazon, and that's how you can sell t-shirts on Amazon. There's also another one here called Displate. Displate sells metal signs, and these are really cool. And so I would encourage you to check out Displate as well. They sometimes take artists and they sometimes don't take artists. So this is sort of next level. But if you're an artist who's got really good skills, you can always submit your portfolio to Displate and you could start uploading there. You can also just create your own website. So here I picked two completely at random. This is just a website called bustedtees.com. And this is just somebody set up a website where they've created coffee mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, and they sell it directly on their website. So they've got an email address, they've got a whole thing here. Now, I don't know if they're using Shopify, WooCommerce. I don't know what sort of upload interface they're using. Don't really know, don't really care. But the idea is they've bought a domain name and then they've used a print on demand service like a Printful or a This New or a Printify, and then they've got t-shirts in different designs. Now, they could be printing this themselves. I want to be clear. They could have a factory where they actually go to the printer directly as well. I'm just saying for us small timers, if we're starting out, you typically use a Printful or like a printing company like that. Here's another example. This one's called Crazy Dog T-shirts, and this looks very similar to the last website. So we've got, uploads onto each t-shirt, and then they've got different price points, and then they've got different sections that you can take a look at. So again, the idea, remember what I was saying before about it being scalable? If you buy a domain name, say you call it, crazy, you obviously wouldn't call it Crazy Dog T-shirts, but this guy did. It says crazydogtshirts.com. This person can now upload an infinite number of designs. There's really, it's all virtual. So it's not like Printful is going to say to them, now hold on, you can only upload 100. You can upload as many as you want, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. And so you can really scale it up massive. There's also Etsy as well. Etsy is sort of a hybrid between Redbubble and your own website. So Etsy is a print-on-demand service in the sense that you can upload, designs that you create. So here's an example. Somebody would have created this design, and then it winds up getting printed by some sort of print-on-demand service. And then you can see here they're making sales on the Etsy site. So somebody goes onto Etsy and they purchase the product, and then this seller pays for the shirt. Maybe they pay $10 for the shirt from Printful, but me as a consumer, I've paid $21.57. So that means that this seller is banking the difference. They're profiting. And I've sold on Etsy before. You make about $10 a shirt usually, which is like pretty good margin. So even if you were to just sell, say, 10 shirts a month, you could still make like $100 a month. That's pretty good. Okay, so there's a bunch of different options for somebody looking at print on demand. I would recommend you start with Redbubble and then take a look at the other options, but at least get your feet wet with Redbubble. It's pretty easy to navigate. Now, if you're not sure where to begin on your print-on-demand journey and you're wondering, hey, I'm brand new to all of this, no worries. Just go onto YouTube, type in Zen Watercooler. That's my channel. That's the video that you're watching right now. And then you can basically watch a whole bunch of videos that are all about print-on-demand. That's what this channel is dedicated to. Now, if you're an artist and you're wondering how to make certain designs, either for commercial purposes or non-commercial purposes, I've got a different channel, a sister channel that I actually run with my wife, and her name is Stacks. That's her online handle. And so the two of us run Crafty Stacks. So Crafty Stacks is a little more like artist resources. I don't talk as much about how to make money on Crafty Stacks, but I've got lots of tools for how you can come up with shirt ideas, coffee mug ideas, or posters, prints. It's more of an artist resource. So we've got two little playgrounds for you to play in so that you can get your skills up in not only creating different works of art, but then also selling different works of art. Okay, so old man alert. I'm going to show my age here for a moment. I remember when Amazon used to be Amazon.com. That was the name of the store, and they only sold books. Okay, so way back in the caveman days, Amazon used to just be a bookseller, and they still sell a ton of books. And so you can see here, I've just typed into the Amazon search window, how to be a full-time DJ. That's just a random search term that I just thought about in the moment. And we can see here, there's a bunch of different books that come up. Here's one, How to Be a DJ in 10 Easy Lessons. Become a DJ in 60 days and get paid doing it. How to be a DJ. There's lots of different options. Now, of course, they sell a lot of other things as well, watches and stereo equipment and things like that. But you can search for books. You can see here there's Kindle ebooks. There's a department, there's the books. There's a whole Kindle store. This has really grown over the last 20 years. I first started writing books back in the late 1990s. Like there was no Amazon.com. There was no option to get your book self-published. So this to me is like a huge haven. We live in an amazing time. So I would recommend that you take a look at Amazon and how to sell a book on Amazon. And it's called Amazon KDP. That's the name of the actual service that you would search for. Here's what the website looks like. It's kdp.amazon.com, or you can just Google Amazon KDP. And then what that stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. There's a little how-to video here. It's got some pretty neat features here. You can get to market fast. So in other words, you can upload a book in like basically a day if you've got the book already written. You can make more money because the royalties are actually pretty decent. I've had some weird, fun experiences printing books and selling them. I remember once I got an email from a guy in Italy who wanted to interview me about a book that I published. And I just thought, wow, what a day and age we live in. I live in Canada for what it's worth. And to have somebody from Italy reach out to me and want to interview me about a book that I wrote, I couldn't even process that information. I thought that was so cool. You can also keep control of the book. You own the copyright to the book as well. So there's a number of different publishing avenues. This can be overwhelming when you first start, but I would encourage you, if you're a writer, don't discount the idea of writing a how-to book or even writing an entertainment book, a funny book, a novel, a guide, and uploading it onto Amazon because it's relatively free other than your time. And it's a really cool way to earn some royalties producing artwork and making a difference in the world. Now, if you've uploaded a book, or if you've written a book, or if your friend's written a book, there's another opportunity for you, even if you're not a writer, and it's to create an audio book. So if you've got a relatively decent speaking voice, and if you're interested in trying it out, you just need a microphone and a computer, and you can create your own audiobook. So the idea here is if you go to Audible, you can start looking at different audio books. And it's pretty neat. Now, yes, there's going to be the big players, Stephen King's The Stand and The Hobbit. I'm not talking about those. But if you've uploaded a book onto Amazon, you can also create an audiobook. And the idea here is that somebody downloads an audio file and they can listen to it. And it's like they're reading a book, but they're in the car, they're out for a hike, that sort of thing, walking to work, taking the subway, whatever it is. So this is a really nice opportunity for people that enjoy speaking. They're relatively good at it. The other option as well is if you understand more than one language and you can speak more than one language, there's a massive opportunity to take books from authors, now with their consent, and you would team up with them. But if you have a friend who's an author, you could translate that book into an audiobook and translate it into different languages as well. That's a huge opportunity for people. I only know one language, so to have a friend who knows French or German or Italian, that's a big deal. And there's a market out there for people who have written a book, but they would love to have it made into an audiobook, or they would love to have it made into an audiobook in a different country. The idea here is you record it once, you upload it into Audible, or you upload it onto a service that sells audiobooks, and that's it. You're done. It could sit there for the next 10 or 20 years, and it would give you royalty income over time. One of the biggest markup opportunities is selling digital files, because you don't even need to print them, ship them, store them. It's all digital. And so I've got a few different options here. Etsy is a big one. If I type in, for example, let's say I type in retro SVG. SVG stands for scalable vector graphic. And the idea here is that you could purchase something for, say, a t-shirt or a coffee mug. And the idea here, there's just a great example. you're actually buying the digital file. It's only $2.50, but then you would upload it onto your own t-shirt and you can get it printed. So you can get these customized. You can look at different shops. This person is Tess Made It Co. and it's 2,500 sales, which is great. Good for her. And so here's just, a nice looking shop. I'm just going to click on her shop here just for a second. So this person's based out of Manitoba. They've got a bunch of featured items. They're all great price points, $2, $3, that sort of thing. This is a beautiful looking shop. I just stumbled across this right now. So the idea is that you would buy something like this. This would be Dog Mom SVG bundle. And then you could put these onto products that you want. Now you might be able to sell it. It says here commercial use for physical items, which is great. Or you could just buy it. A lot of people have what they call a Cricut machine, and that's a machine that will make designs. They could make embroidery designs or t-shirts. It's like a high-end, really high-end like sewing machine, an embroidery machine. And so I used to sell files for Cricut a lot. That's how I got started in print on demand. And a lot of them are like Ohio soccer moms, and they don't know computers very well, but they certainly love to know, how to use Cricut. It was so weird to me because they would be super advanced in like Cricut knowledge, but they wouldn't know how to like download a file. And so I don't say that to make fun of anybody. I'm just constantly surprised and pleased that there's opportunities in the world to make money. You can be really, really smart in one area, and you just kind of assume that everybody else is really smart in that area, but they're not. And that's okay. That just means you can provide value for them, and you can sell a file. Because, look, I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Hoity-toity here, but I could create this in Inkscape in about 5 minutes. It's a great looking design. So that's not a put down. I'm just saying I happen to have that skill set, but I don't know really how to use a Cricut machine. So the Ohio housewife is going to absolutely kick my butt in that regard. So we're each an expert in different fields, and that's what makes this world absolutely wonderful. So if you're good at a certain style of design, you could upload onto Etsy and you could have a shop just like this. Here's another option. This is Fiverr. Now it's asking me to join, so I'm not going to join, but Fiverr is a place where you can sell. It's like a freelance site, and you can sell things on Fiverr, like digital items as well. This is Creative Fabrica, and Creative Fabrica is a great site as well. Creative Fabrica is one of these sites where you can download freebies, you can download vector files, you can download all sorts of t-shirt and coffee mug designs. So I'd encourage you to check out Creative Fabrica as well. Now I'm going to put a link to some of these sites down below, and I'll include a link to Creative Fabrica if you check them out. Just a quick disclaimer, I have an affiliate link for Creative Fabrica. So if you click on that link and you purchase something, you would be supporting me and my endeavors. So I just want to be clear about that. But I love Creative Fabrica. I've used them for years, and you can get just tons and tons of beautiful designs on Creative Fabrica for dirt cheap. Another option is Gumroad, and Gumroad is a digital platform where you can start selling digital products as well. So Gumroad is an option. And then you can also just create your own website. So here's another one. I just found this one at random. I just typed in retro SVG and this came up. So this is SVG cuts. Somebody has made this website and they sell these directly on their website. So, to run a website's like $30 a month, and then they've uploaded these. And again, remember, this is infinitely scalable. So look at all the designs on the right-hand side, all the different categories. Their farm, if we're going to use that analogy, this is a 108,000 acre farm, and it's growing. They've got more and more and more designs on their website. So that's always an idea, is you can just set up a website and just sell digital designs. Now, you'd obviously have to promote it, and they'd have to be high quality. But if you're looking to brainstorm ideas, these are hopefully some options. When I mention rental property, a lot of people's eyes glaze over because they picture the Monopoly man with the top hat and the monocle owning Boardwalk Avenue and owning a 6th-floor apartment building. But, times have changed. And, you look at a place like Airbnb, which is, probably the largest and most intuitive platform for vacation rental properties. I've rented out places on Airbnb, so I've been a customer, and I've also sold on Airbnb. Like I've actually rented out my rental property on Airbnb as well. So it's really easy to use. You would just type in some sort of location. I've been to Amsterdam probably about 5 years ago, and it was, in my mind, one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been in my life. I just walked around with my mouth hanging on the ground the entire time. So here's just an example of where you can stay for $84 a night. So somebody owns these properties and they list them on Airbnb. And there's a neat map option over here. I stayed right around here. I stayed just below, just south of downtown. I had a little bicycle. I drove by a windmill at one point. I was like, this is the life, man. I'm loving this. I'd love to go back to Amsterdam someday. So the idea here is that, somebody owns these properties and then they list them on Airbnb. Now they pay a fee when they rent it out. And, you can always research what the fee is. And there's you're going to have strangers stay in your place. But there's two ways really you can do Airbnb. You can buy a rental property and you can rent it out just completely. You buy a dedicated secondary property and that's what you rent out. Or, and a lot of people do this, they rent out a place that they actually live in and then they just go stay with a buddy. So if you're living in an apartment and you've got a room, like a guy who lives down the hall that's a friend of yours or whatever, if you rent out your place, just clean it up and then go live with them for a week and just split the money. So like if you're hard up for cash, there are options to do that as well. So Airbnb is definitely one to check out. Another one would be VRBO, which is vacation for rent by owner. And that's another popular one as well. So I've just picked this other example just completely at random. So my apologies if this doesn't necessarily apply to you because you might be watching this halfway around the world from where I am. I've just typed in rooms for rent in Toronto, Ontario, and I got to a website called roomies.ca. And you might have something similar in your country. So again, I'm based in Canada, but here's the idea where we've got a furnished room inside of an existing property as well. So a furnished room in a loft, you can have a room inside of an apartment. So even if you're like, well, I'm never going to buy a second property or I'm never going to buy a house, you could rent out a basement. You could rent out one room. Another option for rental income is that you could actually rent out to a friend or a family member, someone you know. And so if you really don't want some stranger wandering through the kitchen wearing his underwear in the morning, you could talk to a family member and say, hey, how would you like to save some money? Maybe I could rent out my basement to you. You rent it, you get a place that is trustworthy. I get a tenant who's trustworthy. Maybe that's an idea. So something to think about if you're thinking of getting into the rental game. You may want to dip your toe into the water with a trusted friend or a family because at least if they don't pay their rent, you can shake them down because you know where they live. The same sort of thing happens if I mention the stock market. Some people's eyes glaze over and they think, I'm never going to own stocks. I'm never going to purchase stocks. What I would encourage you to do is just take a really good hard look long term at your opportunities for wealth. Really the two largest, well, there's three. The three big ways you can make money long term is with property, stocks, and some sort of business where you can grow in addition to a job. So I just want to throw it out there that, if you're not into stocks, check this out. This is from 1916. This is the stock market was 2,200. This is the Dow Jones. Okay, so I'm using, again, North America. You might, if you're living in London, you might use the FTSE, or if you're in Australia, they've got their own stock market. But the idea here is that you can see over time, the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down. When I was a kid, let's say early 90s, I remember the stock market was hovering right around 4,000 or 5,000. And now it's hovering around almost 30,000. It's about 25,000. And so that's a pretty big jump, right? Like it's continuing to go up over time. Now it's going to have long stretches where it goes down. It's going to have long stretches where it goes up. And there's no guarantees in life. But if you buy high quality assets, and they accrue over time. So you're buying pieces of businesses like Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, that sort of thing. And I'm not recommending those stocks specifically. I'm just saying those are examples of large companies that tend to grow over time. If you buy a basket of those stocks, chances are good your wealth is going to significantly increase over time. So I would recommend that you at least take a look at some sort of a savings account where you can put $25 a month, $50 a month, something into a savings account, and then invest that money in something that looks like stocks. So I've got friends in my life that have zero interest in learning about stocks. And they've said, well, I just want to invest some money and not worry about it at all. And that's, you know what, that's totally understandable. They'd rather go kick the soccer ball than sit there looking at stock portfolios. And I can totally appreciate that. And so here's just an example, one of 300 examples that you could pull off the internet of what they call an ETF, or an exchange traded fund. This is a basket of stocks that you can purchase. So I'm in Canada. I've got vanguardcanada.ca as the link. And the idea here is that you could pick a fund, and it's just a basket. So it's very safe in the sense that you're diversified. You've got more than one stock. So I'm just going to click on this one here, this Canada All Cap Index. You know what this means is every year they're going to take a management fee of 0.05%. So that's 1/20th of 1%. And then the idea is over time, the market is going to go up and this stock is going to go up. Here you can see the growth of the stock. If you were to invest $10,000, you would see it grow over time. Now there's obviously dips, there's troughs and valleys and peaks and that sort of thing. But the idea here is this is what is inside the fund. Royal Bank of Canada, if you've never heard of that before, that's like one of our big banks in Canada. Shopify is one of the biggest companies in Canada. Toronto Dominion Bank, Canadian National Railway, a couple oil and gas companies. This is a asset management company. So the idea is here that these companies all make up the fund. So I don't really care what any individual stock does, because there's so many inside that fund that just over time, it just slowly plugs away. So you can see here over 5 years, it's gone up, a few percentage points, 9-10% over time when you look at a long-term window. So it's something to think about. If you're not into individual stocks, you can purchase mutual funds, you can purchase exchange traded funds. And I would just recommend talking to your bank about it and just saying, hey, I'd like to open up an investing account. And I can put $25 a month into that investing account and just purchase a diversified mutual fund. And that's it. You just don't even think about it anymore. It just slowly, chances are, goes up over time. Years and years it would accrue over time. Now, depending on who you are and what your preferences are, when you watch YouTube, sometimes you get ads, and once in a while you may see an ad about affiliate marketing, and it always is like some guy who just rolled out of the bed and he looks like he's 21 years old, and he's like, hey guys, I'm going to talk to you about affiliate marketing. So it's kind of got a sleazy reputation, but I will say affiliate marketing is a great passive income model. And so if you're interested in it, if you have some sort of online presence, maybe it's a Facebook page, Instagram, or Pinterest, if you have something where you're able to influence people, this could be a great opportunity. So here's just an example. This one's called Amazon Associates, and the website is associates.amazon. Now I'm in Canada, so it's associates.amazon.ca. And the idea is that you would sign up and then you would recommend products somehow using some sort of online platform. It could be Facebook, Instagram, maybe you have a YouTube channel, whatever it is, and then you would earn money when people buy those products. So I've actually heard this on podcasts. So like some people will have a podcast and they'll say, hey, I have an Amazon link down below, and then you just click on that link, and then whatever they purchase on Amazon, you would get a commission. So it's an idea. There's lots and lots of different affiliates, especially for online products. Supplements, for example, nutritional supplements is a big one. So if you use a product and you believe in it, there's nothing wrong with becoming an affiliate and telling people about it, giving them the link, they purchase it, you get a commission. A lot of the commissions as well are in perpetuity, meaning if someone purchases a subscription, you will continue to get money because every month their subscription renews, or every year their subscription renews. And so you continue to get money on that as well. So if you wanted to start, I'm not going to go through a ton of examples here, but if you wanted to start, you could go to Amazon Associates, just Google Amazon Associates or Amazon affiliate marketing, and then you could see some different opportunities that come up. It's a pretty neat business model, and it's not super well known to people outside of the creator content industry, but it's definitely something worth to look at because you can make some pretty good money pushing products that you yourself believe in anyway. Another way you can make some passive income is to use YouTube itself, and you can create a channel. And if people watch the channel, you can make money off of ad revenue. Now, I do want to stress, this is intuitive to some people and it's not intuitive to other people. And again, no hard feelings. That's not a put down. I'm just wanted to be honest with you that if you're struggling to understand this concept, that's okay. There's lots of people that do. They're like, well, how could I possibly create a YouTube channel? And what I would encourage you to do is stop looking at stuff like Mr. Beast, who I love, by the way. Mr. Beast has 60 million subscribers, okay? And he's an anomaly. So what happens is people look at this and they go, well, I can't be Mr. Beast, so I'm not going to try. I'm not going to go on YouTube. So what I would encourage you to do, nothing against Mr. Beast, he's great, but don't worry about Mr. Beast. What I would encourage you to do instead is go to YouTube and go up to the search bar and just type in how to. That's it. And now look at what comes up. It tries to autocomplete because it's owned by YouTube's owned by Google, so it's trying to help you out. So for example, if you know how to cut your own hair, that's a video. That's a whole channel. If you know how to do something where you're an expert, that's a possible channel. So I would encourage you to just start searching on YouTube for things that you could help people learn. And if you have a laptop and a microphone and you're able to put together a basic video, that's it. You don't need to be on camera. I'm not on camera, for example. I have no interest in being a celebrity. I have no interest in shouting out to the world, hey, follow me and I'm going to ride my skateboard down the street. I have no interest in doing that. Okay, nobody wants to see me ride the skateboard down the street. But I like to help people with things, and so that's what I'd like to do. So there's lots of different things here. So just as an example, I'm just going to type in how to homeschool kids on a budget, just as an example, okay? And we've got back regular people, which is great, and we can see here we've got different videos that come up. How to homeschool on a budget, how to homeschool on a budget. Now you could look at these, and if you feel like there's an opportunity there, you go, man, there's not many great videos. I don't know if there is or not here, so don't want you to think I'm insulting any of these people. These could be wonderful videos. I just picked that at random. But the idea is if you Google or if you search whatever, and you go, man, there's not a lot, then great. Then maybe there's an opportunity there for you to create a couple of videos, upload them, tag them properly. I mean, there's a whole school of thought behind this, but if you're passionate about that, if you're passionate about helping people, this niche is an idea. You could type in how to anything and see what comes up. So YouTube's pretty good. Now you do need to have 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers in order to monetize your channel. It takes anywhere from a couple months to like a couple years to get it up and running if you diligently upload. So it all depends on how much demand there is for the videos that you're watching, or the videos that you're creating rather. So it's something to think about. It's definitely worth taking a look because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. Google is number one, and then YouTube is number two, and it just seems to be growing more and more every month. So I'd highly recommend that you take a look at your special gift in your life and go, hey, is there something I can teach someone? Is there some entertainment I can provide? And if the answer is yes, then this is a relatively free option to upload videos and make some passive income. Now, if you're interested in selling music, if you're a musician, a lot of us think, well, you have to be a huge band like the Rolling Stones or Nirvana or the Beatles or something in order to sell music. And that's not really the case. You can actually be a working musician, a session musician. You could be in a cover band. You could be playing bars, pubs. You could be doing weddings. You can do all that as a business, and that's fine. But in addition to that, you can also sell music right online. So here's just a couple examples. And again, there's hundreds of examples. So please, I don't want you to think these are the only ones. But if you're interested in selling music, what you can do is just go to a place like beatport.com and you can sign in, and then you can look at what people are doing. And you can see here This is, you can follow, you can subscribe, there's options to purchase. So you can basically make an album. We live in a day and age where you don't need to go into a recording studio. If you're a DJ or if you have a mixing platform, a lot of people just have a laptop and they can crank out professional level music with $30 software. And I don't mean that as a put down. I'm quite the opposite. I'm saying this is a wonderful day and age that we live in where we can do this. I've got a friend of mine who is a DJ and he goes and plays clubs exactly like this guy's doing. And he's got a website where he sells samples. So he's got things that he's made, original music he's made himself, and you can purchase them for 99 cents on his website, and you just purchase them, and there you go. You can use them for whatever reason you want to use them. Here's another one called Bandcamp, and you can go on here. Fans have paid artists $719 million using Bandcamp, and $20 million in the last days alone. So the idea is, if you're an artist, you can upload your virtual album. You know, it's not a physical vinyl record or a CD, but it's a virtual album, and you can upload it here, and you can, you know, have people listen, stream. You can use Spotify. Here's another one called SoundCloud. You can sign in, you can create an account. So there's all sorts of ideas here. Now, yes, I know the negative person inside of us says, yeah, but I'm not a famous rapper, or I'm not a famous whatever. That's fine. You can have a website where you create things for specific people. You can have a website where you create ambient music that people use in movies. Or you can have a website where you create background tracks that musicians can download and they can put into their own music. So for example, like I own a set of drums, and so I would just do drum tracks. That's it. Now I might get custom requests. That's not passive income. I would create a custom drum track for somebody and sell it to them. That's fine. But I could upload drum tracks online and people can just download them for $1, and there you go. Do with them whatever you want. So it's an idea that if you create enough of this stuff, if your farm is long enough and big enough and wide enough, that you'll be able to reach out to a number of people and make some passive income using your musician talent. So it feels like everybody and their cat today has a phone with a really high resolution camera embedded inside of it. But I think taking professional grade pictures is an art, and it is a skill. And especially if you live in a place that's, you know, really visually arresting, like a New York or a San Francisco, for example, a London, Paris, that sort of thing. Or if you travel and you're, you know, while you're on vacation, you like to take photographs, this could be an option for you. So here's Shutterstock. If you've never heard of Shutterstock before, Shutterstock is a high-end website where you go in and you can purchase stock images that are used in newspapers, they're used on websites, they're used by companies. Well, you can actually sell photographs to Shutterstock. You can become a contributor and you can submit and you get paid. Now, again, you're not going to be living on a yacht in the next 30 days if you do this. I mean, you're looking at 15 cents commissions, but they do add up over time. Here's another one. You've got Getty Images. Okay, so Getty Images is one of these ones where, again, same deal. People all over the world use Getty Images. It could be professional companies, journalists, that sort of thing. And you can actually sell your images through Getty as well. You can also just have your own website. You could just come up with your own website and you could just say, hey, I've got a bunch of photos here. You disable the right click so people can't just steal your photos, or you watermark them. And you can say, look, I'm going to take really beautiful pictures and I can sell the underlying photo as well. You can also use photo manipulation software like Photoshop, that sort of thing, Affinity Photo, Microsoft Affinity Photo, and you can create artwork from your photos as well. And you can sell them either through print on demand or just as a high-end print store. There's lots of people that just have a website that just sell prints. They're not selling coffee mugs, they're not selling t-shirts, they just sell prints. So somebody can buy a high-end black and white photo of, you know, if you live in Tel Aviv, for example, you could have a whole website that's just set up of black and white photos of that beautiful part of the world. Just as an example, one of 10,000 different examples. Okay, so let's say we've gone through the brainstorming activity and you're still struggling a little bit to go, well, but what about me? I understand that we've got 10 examples of different ideas, but what about myself? So I've got a couple case studies here. These are totally made up. I just pulled some random images on the internet, but let's pretend that this is a friend of yours, and we'll call this friend of yours Jenny. Okay, so Jenny has a job, she's working, and her goal though is to make passive income over and above her regular job, over and above her regular business dealings of $1,000 a month. Remember, the idea with passive income is she's not actively working at it 24 hours a day. She's already got a full-time job. So she wants to plant some trees and then have them grow over time to the point where she's making $1,000 a month. So what are Jenny's skills? That's what I'd ask her if I was having a coffee with her. I'd say, okay, what are you good at? Because there's no sense in working on stuff if you hate it and you're no good at it. That's just a life not worth living. So Jenny says, you know what, I'm pretty good at graphic design. I do enjoy making things, artwork. I'm pretty good at sales. That's actually my job, is I work in sales. And I actually am pretty active on social media. I've got a Pinterest account, an Instagram account, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, and I've got lots of people that I interact with on a regular basis. Okay, so let's take a look at some options that she may want to sit down one evening with her coffee and go, okay, what is it that I could do? How can I leverage these skills into passive income? So here's the first example is she could go on to the print on demand lane of traffic, and she could say, okay, I'm going to go jump in there on Redbubble, Merch, TeePublic, Etsy as an example. And if she uploads a whole bunch of designs onto those websites, and maybe she does that for a year, she could in theory make $200 a month off of those. Now, I'm just full disclaimer, I'm living proof of this. I've uploaded onto Redbubble, TeePublic, Merch, Etsy, Displate, Society 6, Zazzle, Cafe Press, the list goes on and on and on. And I make well over $200 a month. And I'm not saying that to be braggy. It's just, I'm not saying this like just throwing it out there into the wind. It's like I regularly make more than $1,000 a month just on print on demand. So I would recommend that this is an easy way to at least get started. I'm not saying every single person is going to be horribly successful on it, but it's at least an easy way to jump in and watch $10 a month come in, $50 a month come in. She's also got maybe an apartment. Maybe she lives in an apartment. She could look at getting a roommate. She could look at renting out a room. She could buy a secondary property. If she's in sales and she has a job, she'd probably qualify for a mortgage. And so she could certainly look at getting some sort of a property, of course, depending on where she lives. Now, look, I know there's always going to be negative people in the world. Somebody is sitting in San Francisco right now going, you mean to tell me I can buy 13 properties in San Francisco? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is it's an option you could look at where you could say, I have a 3-bedroom apartment. I just broke up with my boyfriend. I need to pay the rent. Well, I've got a whole extra room over here. Maybe somebody is interested in renting that out for $400 a month. So it's an idea that you would take a look at depending on your individual life circumstances. And then the other idea here could be $400 a month, could be $500 a month. The other idea is maybe she wants to jump onto YouTube and teach people her skills. So for example, she could teach people how to sell. If she's a woman in the workplace and she works in sales, that's a niche. If you're a man and you're a welder, that's a niche. If you're a woman and you're a nurse, that's a niche. If you're a new mom and you're a teacher, that's a niche. Like there's all these things that you can look at and go, okay, who am I? And then you can jump onto YouTube, upload some videos, and you could easily make $300 a month on YouTube if you're producing high quality content in a niche that actually has some demand, that people actually want to watch. So I want to point out that, just quick disclaimer on YouTube, nobody wants to see me take my skateboard and go down the hill, all right? Like maybe my wife will, just for a laugh, because she'd love to see me, lay it out, but if you're going to teach somebody something, that is completely different than just juggling tennis balls. Like you have to do something worthwhile on YouTube, and then people will find you and they will hunt you down and they will watch your videos with a passion. That's what you're hoping to find. Here's a different example. Here's Kenny. Goodbye forever, Jenny. Hello, Kenny. So Kenny's in the same boat, all right? His goal is $1,000 a month. So Kenny's got a completely different skill set. So Kenny goes, man, I don't work in sales and I'm not a social media guy. So what's Kenny's skills? Okay, so I sit down with Kenny and I have a coffee with him and I go, okay, Kenny, tell me about yourself. Kenny is a musician. He can play 3 different instruments and he's been in bands ever since junior high, and he is pretty good at playing the guitar, piano, and drums. He's also a photographer. He loves going out on, his idea of a great vacation is going on an eco trip and taking lots of cool photographs of wildlife, and he loves hiking and he loves nature. Wonderful. He's also a writer. He enjoys solitude. He's very introverted and he likes writing blogs. He likes writing books. He likes writing short stories. Okay, we can work with that. Let's see what Kenny's path to $1,000 a month might be. First and foremost, I'd recommend that he sets up a YouTube channel and he does something related to his music. Now he's doing this as like an electronic business card. So he could upload original music that he's created himself. He could upload covers of songs. He could upload ambient background music if he's a DJ or a creator. Here's a big one. He could also give lessons to people who are interested in learning how to play music. All of that put together, it's reasonable to think that within a couple of years, he could be earning $400 a month. Again, it all depends on the quality of what he's doing. There's lots of people giving lessons on YouTube, but just because there's lots of competition doesn't mean there's not room to compete. Because Kenny is Kenny, and there's only one Kenny, this guy. So he can be himself, and if he's funny, and if he's playing a certain type of music, a certain type of genre, there could be a demand for it. The other thing he could do with his musical skills is he could go on this place like SoundCloud, and he could upload a bunch of music there too, and he could make maybe $100 a month, $50 a month, $200 a month. But he could go on to Audible, he could go on to SoundCloud, he could go on to Spotify. There's lots of different sound options where you're not necessarily making visual art, but you're making something for the audio people in the world, people who like music. Now, from a photography standpoint, there is lots of different options. He could go on Getty Images, Shutterstock. He could open up a store on Etsy that sells high-end prints. If I lived in New York, I don't, but if I lived in New York, I would just be walking around all the time taking photographs. And I would have a store on Etsy, and I would call it like New York Store, and I would sell prints of New York, because to me, it's just fascinating, beautiful city. Same with London, Vancouver, you know, the list goes on and on, Los Angeles, anywhere. Wherever you live is exotic to somewhere else, right? I live in rinky-dinky little Canada, but for somebody somewhere, that's an exotic location, right? So, you know, you don't have to live at the Giza pyramids. You could, wherever you live, could be a source of inspiration for that photography business. And then there's also the idea here that he could create a book. If he's a writer, he could create a book on how to learn music, how to do photography. You come up with a photography book, for example. So the list is really endless, and you could really brainstorm and go, man, there's so many different options for an artistically minded person. And you don't need to be the greatest guitar player in the world. You don't need to be the greatest photographer in the world. You just need to be you. And if you're you, that's a unique thing. And if somebody likes you and they like your artwork and your style, they will become a fan of you. And that's sort of what you're hoping for here to create that $1,000 a month lifestyle. Okay, so what I'm hoping is that at this point, your brain is swimming with different ideas and you're getting excited about life, and you're saying, look, $1,000 a month is not an outrageous sum if you plant enough trees. If you go out into the world and you plant enough little trees, enough little ideas, you could get back $1,000 a month. But I want to point out, imagine the rocket. So here we've got the Saturn V rocket. I'm a big space guy. I love watching like space documentaries. Here's the Saturn V rocket. This is the rocket that launched the Apollo missions that went to the moon. This whole piece of the rocket right here, from here to here, this whole piece of the rocket is just to get the rocket out of the atmosphere, like out of the Earth's orbit rather. So like 2/3 of the rocket is like just to get out of the Earth's orbit. And the remainder of it is to get to the moon. The astronauts sat way up here. So all of this fuel is just to get started. Remember that as I give you 3 tips now on how you can get going. You're going to do a whole bunch of work for the first year with no results. And that's okay because you're launching the rocket. You have to think of it in terms of all of this work gets you to the point where you're starting to earn some money. And most people give up halfway through the rocket. They go, oh, it's too much work. I don't want to do it. But if you push through, you will actually get out of the regular orbit and into the $1,000 a month orbit. So I've got 3 tips here. The first thing I would recommend that you do is to figure out your unique gift. It's a combination of you being interested in something and good enough at it. You don't need to be the world's best, but good enough at it. Use me, for example, okay? I have a background in theater. I have a background in training. And so for me to do a webinar, to talk into a microphone, I'm not like sweating and I'm not vomiting into a waste paper basket going, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to talk to people. It really doesn't bother me. So if public speaking really bothers you, well, then maybe YouTube's not for you. If you hate writing and reading books, well, then don't do that piece. Figure out what your gift is, and then you can shine because you're interested in it and you're good at it. So I'd recommend that you do a skills assessment. Sit down and go, okay, what am I good at? And if you're struggling to figure it out, sit down with a friend, a family member, your spouse, whatever it is, and say, hey, what do you see in me? What are my strengths? And I've done this with my wife. I've done this with my family, with my friends. I've sat down and I've said, you know what you're really good at is blah, blah, blah. You're really good at that. And then people go, really? You think I'm good at that? Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're good at that. Now, you don't need to, don't want to lie to them. This is not charity. But be honest and say, look, the way you describe something here is really good. Or the way you play music is amazing. I've got a friend of mine who plays the bass, and he's phenomenal at it. I love listening to him play music. I'll go to the bar and I'll watch him play. He's in a band. He doesn't think he's that great. He's like, oh, I'm okay, I guess. But compared to me, I don't know how to play a bass. So I'm looking at this going, wow, that's amazing. So he's farther along than I am. And that's why I would watch a YouTube video with him. I would take a music lesson with him. So think of it in terms like that. Number 2 is you want to look at the existing businesses you're already doing in your life. So for example, if you have a job where you work in sales, then see if you can leverage that somehow into passive income sales. If you're already making music and that's part of your life, and when I say look at business, I don't mean just your job, but your life. Like in the evening, are you in a band? Well, then maybe you can have a website that sells music. Do you enjoy DJing for fun? Well, if that's the case, you can make a website and you can sell DJing music. Do you enjoy writing as a hobby? If that's the case, you can parlay that business into passive income. So I've got some examples here, regular business and passive income. If you're a teacher, maybe you teach at an elementary school, or you're a homeschooler, or you're a tutor, or you're a professional trainer for a company, well, then think about creating online courses. Go onto YouTube and create an online course. And if you're wondering what an online course looks like, you're watching one right now. This is an online course. Full disclaimer, I spent a day, I created a PowerPoint slide, I drew on my previous knowledge, I grabbed a bunch of websites, and I just hit record. I'm not worried that this is not perfect, and that's okay, because there's people out there that want to listen to it. So if you're a teacher, think about maybe creating some online courses. I'm never going to teach this again. This is going to sit on YouTube, and people will watch this today, tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now. If you're a working musician, create a legacy body of work and put it online somehow. Upload it into, some sort of music sharing, selling website. Create an album and put it up on YouTube, even if people just listen to it and you just got ad revenue off of that. There's all sorts of ways you can make money as a working musician, not only actively, but passively as well. If you work in communications at work, if you're like a comms writer, or if you work for a company where you have to read and write as part of your job, then you may want to write a book. Now, it's a lot of work to write a book, but once you write a book, it's there. It's cemented in your legacy now forever, for the next 10 years. So I would recommend looking at your subject matter expertise and leveraging that into some sort of a manual, a how-to guide, a picture book, instruction manual. And if you're just writing for fun, then you could write a novel. You could write a funny book. You could write a joke book. You could write a really specific niche book. And that's an option that will sit online forever and get you royalty income. If you're a graphic designer, if you know how to use Photoshop or, Affinity Photo or Illustrator, Inkscape, there's all sorts of apps and there's all sorts of software. If you're good at graphic design, then I would recommend the print on demand route as well. That's the design route that I've originally started in. I've actually got a couple of these. I would say if I'm looking at myself, I'm a teacher. I work and have worked in communications. I've written books, and I've also done this graphic design as well. So, I mean, I make well over $1,000 a month because I have multiple channels here on the go, but I don't work on them all day long. I move in and out. I might write a book once every couple of years. I might do YouTube videos, for a few hours a week, and I might work on print on demand for a few hours a month, and it just slowly grows over time. So if you're a graphic designer, you don't just need to be a digital graphic designer, by the way. You could be like a legitimate painter, like you actually have painting canvases, and you could sell your artwork online that way. But you could take a digital print of it, upload it to Fine Art America or Redbubble or an Etsy shop and sell a print of it. And that's the passive income part as well. The third piece I would recommend, and this has nothing to do with your skill set, this is just more of your life, is to grow your capital over time. And what I mean by that when I say grow your capital is really it's two big things. You'd want to have some sort of pool of money. So that could be a savings account, it could be stocks, or it could be a mutual fund / exchange traded fund, but something that's growing over time and it's an investment. And then the other thing is some sort of property. And I know that that's not available for everybody wherever you live in the world. But if you're looking, if we're going to talk truth here, these are the two easiest ways to make money without actually investing any knowledge. You can just purchase a stock portfolio and just leave it alone for 20 years. Or you could purchase a rental property and you could just rent it out. So there's all sorts of people that don't have any specific skills, but they have a little bit of capital, a little bit of money, and they've purchased these vehicles. So imagine you could, all of these other ideas, like these businesses here, this is you running. You're running, this is you buying a car. You're just purchasing something and now you're just driving it. So you're not running at all. And it's not a put down. It's just these are different avenues. So I have a stock portfolio. I've owned multiple vacation properties and rental properties over the years. So I'm always sort of using different lanes of traffic in order to get my passive income going. Now, yes, you need to manage these. So yes, you need to purchase stocks and manage them. If the stock market, changes, you may want to sell off a stock or you may want to continue to invest. But you don't have to. You could just have an automatic savings plan set up and every month, $25, $50, $100 goes into the savings account. You could also just have a rental property and you just rent it out to your mom or to your friend. And, it doesn't have to be like an actively managed Airbnb, although you make some pretty good money doing that. But you could also just rent it out to somebody and they just live there. So that's an idea as well. You could also just rent out a room and you could just do it during certain times of the year. Like if you live in London, England, for example, you may want to rent out a part of your apartment at specific times of the year when there's a festival in town or when there's, the Olympics came through. There's all sorts of opportunities there where you're not necessarily having to buy a secondary property. So I'd recommend starting with $25 a month if you're doing a savings account. And I'd recommend really looking at your life and saying, is there a basement? Is there a room? Is there something? Now, look, if these aren't speaking to you, that's okay too. But again, there's a lot of different options in this video where you can look at it and go, well, maybe out of the 20 or 30 different ideas, I might want to start with 1 or 2 or 3 of those. I want to tell you a quick story here and then we'll wrap things up. I used to work in a donut store back in the 1990s. And when I worked in the donut store, I would bake donuts. So I'm in the back room baking donuts, and a buddy of mine was the muffin guy. So I'm friends with the muffin guy. And the muffin guy was like an old man. He was like 40 years old. Well, I was like 18 at the time, right? So 40 was like an eternity, right? And he was the muffin guy. He was 40 years old. And I remember when he turned 40, he was like really depressed. And so we were like talking as we're baking our food there in the middle of the night. And he said, I'm really down. I've just turned 40. I don't have any savings. I never bought property. I don't have any education. I have no skills. I'm a big loser. And I was like, whoa, 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 happy birthday. Holy moly. So I talked to him that night about just taking $25, putting it into a bank account, a savings account, and then investing it in a mutual fund. That was it, just a regular balanced mutual fund. And I said, just do that for 10 years. Now, by the time you're 50, you'll have a few $1,000s saved up and it will grow over time. Well, we parted ways. I left the donut store. He moved on. We both live in different cities. I got a letter from him a few years back, like an actual handwritten letter. I thought that was so cool. And he wrote me and he said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you. I've actually surpassed $10,000 in my savings. And it was all thanks to you." Now, it wasn't thanks to me, but I mean, I told him some information, but he's the one that did it. He saved 25 and then it became 50. And then he got a little raise at work and he started saving $100 and he invested it over time and he continued to grow over time. And that's what I would encourage you to do. If you're going to use capital, you want to be dedicated to save. If you're going to use your skills, you want to carve out time and energy. And what I mean by energy is your willingness to learn, your willingness to fail, and your willingness to learn from the failures. So I don't look at failure as a bad thing. I just go, "Oh, well, it didn't work out. I'll try something else." I don't make it about me. So when you're trying these, I guarantee you something's not going to work. And that's okay. What you want to do is push forward, grow over time, and eventually you'll be in a situation where you're making $1,000 a month. And that will hopefully radically change the quality of your life, because not only are you getting $1,000 a month, but you've earned it. You've provided that value into the world. And that's what makes you special. And that's what makes you unique. So I hope you found that helpful. I love these long form ones because I get to go on a bit of a rampage and rant a little bit. But again, I mean, if you like this, feel free to like it. Feel free to subscribe. I'd love to hear your comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I very much value your time, and I really hope you got some value out of this today. Thanks, everyone. Take care.